Thank you, everyone. I'm Senator Pam Beidle, Chair of the Executive Nominations Committee, and we'll call the meeting to order tonight. And thank you for all of you for visiting Annapolis. I hope you've enjoyed Annapolis. And if you haven't been out yet, I know it's raining a little, but wonderful restaurants and things to see in Annapolis. So thank you for being here. I think we're going to start tonight kind of at the bottom of the list, and not that he's the bottom candidate, but the very last person on the list is Mr. Craig Thompson. So Senator Hedelman, there she is.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Executive Nominations Committee. I am thrilled to be here today before you to introduce Mr. Craig Thompson. Mr. Thompson is a partner with the law firm of Venable. He has many decades of experience handling complicated law firm cases, reviewing documents, having expertise in client relationships, handling big deals, which seems to be very consistent with the role of that he was suggested for at the Maryland Stadium Authority. We have year after year turned to the Maryland Stadium Authority as the premier sort of development agency that has undertaken complex development programs, complex negotiations with our beloved sports teams, the Orioles, the Ravens. And he really has the expertise to be able to do that. He is has a lot of passion for sports. He has a lot of experience, as I said, with complex deals. He was raised in East Baltimore by a single mom, moved out to Baltimore County, the Reisterstown area, has settled in the I guess technically it's Reisterstown, in the 11th District. We are thrilled to have him and really thrilled that he is put forth as a candidate to lead the Stadium Authority. Again, as I said, they undertake very complicated projects. They do so efficiently and effectively, and they've done a great job. And I think they will continue to do a great job as we continue to give them more responsibility. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Craig Thompson. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hedelman, Mr. President, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Good evening. I would first like to thank Governor Moore for trusting me with this important position and opportunity to serve. And many thanks to Secretary Edwards and her team for assisting me in navigating this process that brings us here today. As I hope you have seen from my biography and any additional research that you have conducted, I've spent my professional career as a committed advocate, able negotiator, and successful business generator over the last several years. Importantly, I've spent the last 30 plus years serving the Maryland community through civic engagement, nonprofit board involvement, industry leadership, and educational enhancement, having authored 2 children's books and serving on the boards of K through 12, as well as collegiate level educational industries. As a member of my law firm's executive leadership committee, I'm acutely aware of the structure and needs of a multi-million-dollar service industry business. And as a trial lawyer, I know the importance of building and maintaining relationships for the purpose of reaching the best and most favorable outcomes for the clients that I represent. My dedication and commitment to serve in this position will never be questioned, and I pledge to serve with unassailable integrity and excellence. I've already worked with my law firm and communicated with the Attorney General's office and the state's chief legal counsel to ensure that any potential issues or questions that arise as a result of my personal affiliations and professional affiliations will be resolved. And a plan will be implemented if I am fortunate enough to receive your support. As Senator Hedelman indicated, I am a lifelong Maryland enthusiast, and to say that I am a lifelong Maryland enthusiast is no exaggeration. I was born on the morning of Super Bowl III when the Baltimore Colts took on the New York Jets. So I can literally say that I was born into an environment that had a buzz surrounding a Maryland sports franchise. Fast forward 54 years, as we sit here today, I sit before you with there being a buzz surrounding a Maryland sports franchise. We did not achieve the results that we wanted to in 1969, but I will work diligently with all parties involved to ensure that we achieve the results we desire and need to move forward in our state with our sports and entertainment industries moving forward. I earned 2 varsity letters in sports in high school, in baseball and basketball, and I know and embrace fully the importance of teamwork. I'm excited to join the MSA team and humbled by this tremendous opportunity to serve the citizens of Maryland in this extremely important role. I'm honored to partner with you and the various leaders and stakeholders connected with the Maryland Stadium Authority to build on its outstanding track record of success. With that, I thank you for your time, and I stand ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Do I have any senators with questions? President Ferguson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No question. Just want to second the nomination of Mr. Thompson. I think the Moore administration made a great selection here. And sidebar fact that when I was a summer intern or summer associate, got the chance to meet Mr. Thompson in his then burgeoning legal career, and was incredibly thoughtful and helpful. I was just a lowly summer associate, and was just incredibly gracious and showed me the ropes along the way, and just it is an honor to be here. I don't know, 15, 16 years later now, being able to support you for what is an incredibly important role, especially right now. The Stadium Authority has got a lot of important projects ahead. And so I'm certain that you're the right person for the job.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Crozier, you have a question?
Very briefly, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for your taking the time to meet.
Thank
And
you,
just
Senator.
my question, especially given your enthusiasm for sports and your extensive trial attorney background, how are you planning to balance some of the many demands that certain negotiators will make on you, and also protecting our state taxpayer dollars?
Thank you, Senator, for that important question. My approach will be much like it is with either litigation or in other leadership roles that I've had. Make sure that I build the relationships so that everyone feels comfortable with me, and make sure that I have a clear understanding of what everyone's priorities are, and kind of listen and work through that way. Setting up a structure with the other members of the board to make sure that we work together to achieve whatever the best outcome is. It's very, very important to me to make sure that all of the members of the board are engaged, involved, and that decisions that are made on behalf of the citizens of Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. You have quite an impressive resume, and I'm sure that you're going to find the time to do this job, because you have been involved in a lot besides your law firm, a lot of community activities, and just very impressive. So we'll look forward to working with you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everyone.
So we're going to start with the blind industries. Is Senator Benson here? Senator Benson, will you come and introduce G. Sapphire Harris first, please?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of this committee. Every once in a while, I do have an opportunity to talk about something that or someone that I truly believe in. And this is one of those times. We're here this evening, and I'm asking for your support for Miss Sapphire Mark Harris. She lives in Glenarden, Maryland, and everybody knows that Glenarden, Maryland has a rich, powerful history when it comes to laying the foundation for the involvement of African Americans in the political arena. This young lady works for the Health and Human Services Department in Washington, D.C. She has served in this position for 16 years. And if you look at her resume, you will see that she comes to the table with a wonderful, wonderful background. She has exhibited great management skills as a management specialist. She worked in the Division of Financial Integrity, and I love the word integrity. She is also has also had experience as an administrative assistant. She definitely has the background and knowledge to show the kind of commitment and sensitivity to this wonderful position that she's applying for. She serves also at one of a church in Prince George's County. She is a part of the special needs ministry. She works with persons who are in critical need when it comes to blindness and diversity and disabilities. She has served her community in the most wonderful way. She is a team player, and she knows how to get the job done, and she does it in the most wonderful way. I am very excited and delighted to submit her name to you tonight. And I would tell you without question that you will very much appreciate the depth and the outstanding background that this young, beautiful woman brings to the table. So I would ask that you please welcome her at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Ms. Harris?
She had indicated she was going to be here.
Well, thank you for the introduction. Maybe she'll come in a little later.
Okay,
We'll give
thank
her
you
the
very
opportunity
much.
to show us.
But I would ask for your consideration, please.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much.
My Vice Chair, Senator Hayes, would you like to introduce Deborah Morris? Is Deborah Morris here? Yep, there she is. Would you like to come up to the front, please? Ms. Morris, would you like to come forward?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of Executive Nominations Committee, Senator Antonio Hayes from the 40th Legislative District in Baltimore City. I bring to you Ms. Deborah Morris, community activist, very much involved every year in our district. We host a pre-session briefing amongst other things. Ms. Morris is a very active member of the community, working in various nonprofits affiliated with Lincoln University, Shar University, and others. And I urge a favorable nomination for Ms. Deborah Morris.
Good evening, all. I'm just a person. I'm not an orator. I'm just a human rights activist and a person that's here to speak for those who are unable to speak. I come to this journey by chance. My footsteps have been ordered in this direction for a reason and a season. I came from Philadelphia originally, here, purpose, retired, and was to travel the world. The reason I applied for this post is because I'm currently in a senior place. I'm very active with the Blind Association, the Federation of Blind, and all. The reason for my activity with the Blind Association, if people don't know about disabled and blind individuals, years ago, historically, they were institutionalized. And legislation, the civil rights legislation, got individuals deinstitutionalized. And one of those persons that would have been institutionalized was my mother. My mother was blind. And my grandmother moved from Georgia to Philadelphia so that she could get an education with the Pennsylvania School of the Blind and not be institutionalized. My mother was a single parent of 6. I was the only girl, and she had my 5 older sons. She got an education in terms of high school diploma. She worked every day of her life. And there was no reason for her not to work. But unfortunately, in these days and times, with the legislation have been lost, a lot of folks now, even with the laws of persons who are disabled and blind, are still being discriminated against. Simply because the law is there, but people don't really understand the capability of individuals who are blind and disabled. Subsequently, when you say we don't discriminate, but you look at a person who is blind, they figure the only thing that they can do is factory work and other kind of works that are menial. Blind folks, God gave us 5 sensories, and he gave us a brain. So if we are unable to use those 5 sensories, one that is missing, we rise up with the other 4. In terms of blind folks who have been outstanding in this country and all over, we've had mathematicians, we've had individuals who are scientists, we have builders, we have inventors who have been blind. But nowadays, when you go into different, even in here, how many people do you see working in offices in the Senate building who are blind? People, I remember very, very, very vividly when I used to work with the court systems in Philadelphia. Judge Higginbotham didn't want anybody but a Shirley, who was blind, as his court clerk. And she was most perfect in terms of her ability to do the court records. And nowadays, you go into a court, you don't even see a stenographer being blind. You go into any kind of chambers or any kind of other fields, you don't see them. And particularly with the technology today, which is on a high scale, it's even more prevalent to the blind, could be utilized more effectively. And we're not doing that. And I say that very seriously because I visited the facility in Baltimore. It's a shame and a disgrace. People are there being mistreated who are blind. And I put that out there very seriously. And if I'm nominated for here for this position, only to be a puppet, then I don't want it. Because my position when I applied was to come in and to make changes and to make a difference for the people who are blind within the state of Maryland. And so I submit to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. I'm sure that you're going to be very effective on the board, and thank you for being here tonight.
Any questions?
I don't see any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Kagan could not be here tonight, so I'm going to introduce Ms. Robinson. Rosario Robinson, are you here tonight? I am. Will you come up, please? Thank you. I just want to take a minute to read a little something that Senator Kagan sent to introduce you. And she was sorry that she couldn't be here tonight, but I see that you graduated magna cum laude from an HBCU, Savannah State University, with a degree in math and computer science.
Yes.
And later got a master's degree at Georgia State. Most recently, Ms. Robinson was the executive director of the Center for Minorities and People with Disabilities in Information Technology.
That's right.
And I think it's interesting you have an older sister that's blind, so you've been very accustomed to being part of what the blind industry can do for people. So we thank you very much for volunteering for this commission, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. I'm Rosario Robinson. Everyone calls me Rose, but I reside in Rockville, and I have my fan club with me, my husband, Bernard Robinson, and my newly inducted computer scientist daughter, Rosario Robinson. So she's going to be making waves as well. I wanted to share with you that my sister is blind. But I've been working in the industry, in the technology industry, for about 25 years. And the last 10 years I've spent in nonprofit tech. And I've been helping women, minorities, and people with disabilities to really kind of advance and further in tech. But my best friend, Senji Tyson, she is also blind, and she has 5 degrees. So the main fact that the young woman that was up here earlier, we have an opportunity to really be inclusive in our products and services that we offer to the state of Maryland and all of its citizens. But at the same time, I think we can do better. We don't have enough resources. We don't have enough products. And I think I can bring more of the product design, more information about resources. And I've worked locally in Washington, DC, as well as a national and global level with other people that are really trying to bring the accessibility technology forward. So thank you, Madam Chair and Vice Chair. I hope that my nomination, and I want to thank Governor Moore also for my nomination, but I think I really wanted to serve in a capacity where I can make a difference as well.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson, and I think you will make a difference. Do I have any questions from any senators? No. Well, thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to you serving.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Sidnor, would you like to introduce, I think it's Mr. Blake for the Maryland Healthcare Commission?
Madam Chair, Ms. Hassanatu
Miss,
Blake.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Who is a Baltimore County native with a very large and global perspective. If you have had an opportunity to look at her resume, her serving on the Maryland Healthcare Commission is certainly something that Maryland will benefit from. And not only does she have a master's in public health, she has an MBA as well as a PhD. With that, I'll give you Ms. Blake.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to, stand here today before you. I also want to thank Governor Westmore for the nomination, and also State Senator Sidnor for the gracious introduction. I personally want to thank my family, particularly my father, who's here today and who is also a native Marylander. He and my mother have contributed graciously to me and my career in public health. I have, as mentioned earlier, a very vast public health background. I've been able to practice public health globally and locally. I've been able to do research and also teach public health. So I would bring to the committee various different perspectives to how to approach public health and to make a difference and improve health for Marylanders. So I would like to thank you all for your time, and I welcome any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. Do I have any questions from any senators? Thank you very much for your work in public health.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator McCray, would you like to introduce Mr. Carl Douglas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, members of the Executive Noms. I just stand here today to bring about a man that is the professional and principled background to serve the position in Maryland Healthcare Commission. Mr. Douglas is a graduate of Baltimore City Public Schools, holds a number of academia degrees, has taught in the health space, worked in the health space, and volunteered in the health space. Some of the volunteer work that you'll see on his resume is in reference to dementia, in reference to NAACP, in reference to We Are Us. I hope that you'll join me in supporting Mr. Carl Douglas for the nomination of Maryland Healthcare Commission. And Madam Chair, without further ado, here goes Carl Douglas.
Senator McCray, thank you so much. Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, all leaders, I'm super excited to be with you today for many reasons. I'm honored to be present because I volunteered for this opportunity because I'm very optimistic about the future of healthcare in Maryland. I am a public servant and consider myself a servant leader. I'm very consistent, I care, and I'm focused on making a positive impact in the city for which I live. I could choose to live anywhere, but I choose to live in Baltimore City. I eat, I sleep, I drink, I talk, I speak, I serve public health. I am also affectionately known as Carl with the K, and also known for having a can-do spirit. 3 points I would like to share with you. That's why it's so important for me. One is service. I'm looking forward to serving the governor and the citizens of Maryland at a very high level. 2, knowledge. I'm looking forward to sharing my experience and learning all that I can to help shape the future of healthcare in Maryland. I'm pretty proud of being able to, which I serve and am in the local streets of Baltimore daily, weekly, and I can move from most dangerous parts of any city to aboard Fortune 500 and be able to speak the language and serve those individuals. Is interesting. The entities that I serve, I still teach at UMBC and Towson University, right now public health, and it brings me such joy to be able, to do that. And then lastly, leverage. I'm looking forward to leveraging the entities I serve to benefit the greater good. I live each day to reaffirm the faith in humanity. Thank you for this time.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions for Mr. Carl Douglas, Carl with a K?
Thank you,
Thank you,
Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Douglas. Next, we have Senator Gallion is going to introduce Danielle Duncan. Please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. President, and members of the Senate Executive Nominations Committee. For the record, Senator Jason Gallion representing Cecil and Hartford counties. It's only fitting that on tonight, Cecil County Night in Annapolis, I have the privilege to introduce one of my constituents from Cecil County. Miss Danielle Duncan has over 10 years of teaching expertise in higher education and laboratory settings and over a decade of comprehensive experience in laboratory management and training specialties for diverse populations. Ms. Duncan is currently enrolled in a Doctorate of Education program with an emphasis in leadership and learning analytics in higher education. Please join me in welcoming nominee for the Maryland Healthcare Commission, Ms. Danielle Duncan.
Good evening. I'm thankful to Governor Moore for the nomination. Thank you, Senator, for the introduction. Thank you to Madam Chair, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and our distinguished members. I ask for your favorable appointment to the Healthcare Commission. I'm truly excited for this opportunity. My extensive background in clinical laboratory science, I think, offers such a unique perspective to this committee. As we've seen, laboratory science has been thrust into the front for many things when we're coming to healthcare. And I've had the opportunity to see it in so many different settings and how it affects the people of Maryland and the importance in it. And I thoroughly look forward to making an impact and serving on this committee. And I thank you for your consideration, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Do I have any questions? Thank you. We look forward to your service. Thank you. Next, for the Healthcare Commission, Senator Bailey, will you introduce your candidate, Joan Gelrud or Gelrud?
Thank you, Madam Chair, distinguished members of the committee. Senator Bailey from St. Mary's in Calvert County for the record. This evening, I have the opportunity and pleasure to introduce you to Joan Gelrud. She's from St. Mary's County. She currently resides in Lexington Park. If you have the opportunity to look at her resume, you will quickly see she was a vice president of MedStar St. Mary's Hospital. She was also the senior vice president of the Kaiser Foundation Health Plan and Hospital Quality. She was the executive director. She was also the chief quality and population health officer for Loomis Health here in Annapolis. She's very qualified, and I ask for your support in this nomination as a member of the Maryland Healthcare Commission.
Thank you, Senator Bailey. Madam Chair, members of the Senate Executive Nominating Committee, I'd like to thank Governor Moore for the nomination and thank you for hearing me. And my husband, who's right there, for supporting me. I'm Joan Gelrud. I'm a cardiovascular nurse clinical specialist by education and trade. My mission throughout my career has been to make a positive impact on the lives of others. It started with one patient at a time in critical care. And as my career expanded, I was able to make an impact on the communities served by the hospitals in which I worked. When I joined Kaiser Permanente Mid-Atlantic States region, I became responsible for 700,000 Kaiser Permanente members for the care, treatment, and service that they would receive. And when I moved into the national role, my responsibility grew to 12.4 million members across the country related to care, treatment, and service, because good quality is good business. And if we're hurting people, we don't need to be here. And so that's been my job all through my life, and I'm happy to be bringing it home to Maryland. Access is a quality measure. Processes are adaptive. Thinking about network adequacy is not a lot different than thinking about state adequacy, because if we can't access healthcare, then we can't benefit from it. I had the opportunity a long time ago, I'll say, to work with the HSCRC teams to establish the first quality metrics in Maryland. I've worked with NCQA on ambulatory and health plan measures and metrics, and equity, inclusion, diversity, justice, all play into all of those. I hope so much that I could bring the work I've done to the team at the Maryland Healthcare Commission and serve the citizens of Maryland. And I'll close by saying that being part of the MHCC has been on my bucket list for a long time.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Do you have any questions from any of our senators? No, thank you very much. Senator Carter, I believe you made it. Thank you. And you'll be introducing Shante Gilmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. It's my great pleasure and honor to introduce Shante Virginia Gilmore. Come on. For the Healthcare Commission. Ms. Gilmore has 12 years of community-based health experience. She's worked for an academic institution, state and local municipal agencies, and managed care organization for Medicare and Medicaid. She has aggressively worked to reduce health disparities within Maryland communities. Ms. Gilmore's professional background includes infectious disease, community health, community development advocacy, emergency management, and quality improvement. She has contributed to the creation of interagency and multidisciplinary strategic plans and initiatives that address critical public health priorities related to the social determinants of health. Ms. Gilmore received her Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences and her master's degrees in public health from Morgan State University. She has also obtained a Doctor of Public Health from Johns Hopkins University, and she has also completed a leadership development to advance equity in healthcare at Harvard University. So without further ado, I'll bring you Ms. Gilmore and ask for your support. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I would also like to thank the Moore administration for the recommendation for appointment to the Maryland Healthcare Commission, as well as thank Senator Carter for her support. I'm a native Baltimorean, and I've dedicated my life to ensuring that the most vulnerable and disadvantaged populations receive equitable health care. Throughout my career, I've worked in several disciplines within the public health spectrum. I started early on when I completed my undergraduate education by dedicating myself to work for AmeriCorps in the Johns Hopkins Urban Health Institute, working for National Community Service Organization. As a result of that service, I received the Governor's Award for National Community Service. From there on, I worked in several different aspects of public health. I worked in behavioral health. I've worked in community-based health. I've worked in quality improvement. I even worked for the CDC Foundation with a focus on health equity, and worked for the Maryland Primary Care Program, where I actually have experience with working with the Maryland Healthcare Commission in the realm of primary care and ensuring that primary care incorporated behavioral health into that environment, making primary care more equitable for all residents and not just some residents. If granted favor by the committee, I will continue my role in working for Marylanders as well as residents within Baltimore City to ensure that they receive more equitable health care. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Gilmore. Do I have any questions from any members? And thank you for your focus on behavioral health. It's certainly our focus in the last few years also. It's really important. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Senator Alonzo Washington, that will bring Giovanni Spinner.
Good evening, members of the committee, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. I am honored here today to support my constituent, Dr. Giovanni Spinner, who has been nominated by Governor Moore to the Maryland Healthcare Commission. If nominated, Dr. Spinner would bring a wealth of experience to the commission. She founded the Beacon Public Health, and a nonprofit that works to empower organizations to build and develop equitable public health solutions that decrease the burden of chronic diseases in Black and Brown communities. She has worked to challenge the status quo, to implement equity-driven programs and policies that advance the health and wellness of people of colors, support diverse hiring practices, and support workforce development through internships and fellowships. Dr. Spinner also has experience conducting outreach as an Associate Director of Food and Drug Administration in the Office of Minority Health and Health Equity, and has worked as a health policy analyst for the National Institute of Health, the Department of Health and Human Services. The nomination of Dr. Spinner to the commission would help further the state's goal of improving healthcare access in a rapidly changing environment by providing timely and accurate information on availability, costs, and quality services to policymakers, purchasers, providers, and the public. I humbly request you support this nomination. I must say that I've knocked on her door multiple times. We haven't had opportunity to meet just yet, but I'm very proud that she is an impressive doctor in her work. So thank you, and then please urge you to support this nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Washington, for the introduction, and to the Nominations Committee and the Moore-Miller administration for the nomination. I founded Beacon Public Health with the vision to diminish the impact of chronic diseases among Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Over the course of my public health career, I focused on dismantling systemic barriers and addressing health inequities to help reduce health disparities for our most vulnerable populations. I would be delighted to join the Maryland Healthcare Commission and bring my expertise to help create a healthier Maryland for all. During my career, I have spent time at state agencies, federal agencies, nonprofits, and now leading my own organization. My work to address chronic disease prevention, treatment, and management has reached millions through health education campaigns, training, and research, all while being culturally relevant. My experience working with diverse stakeholders has had a tremendous impact, such as spearheading health education initiatives, such as the Unwind with the Tribe campaign, Clinical Trial Diversity campaign, and Lupus Health Education campaign. I have experience helping consumers to make informed decisions, increasing accountability, and providing relevant information to consumers, policymakers, and other decision makers, all of which align with the Healthcare Commission's goals. I know firsthand how health disparities and inequities in the healthcare system impact our communities. I am committed to improving the healthcare system. In my previous role at the Food and Drug Administration in the Office of Minority Health and Health Equity, I served as the Associate Director, and I was responsible for setting the vision and advising senior officials on steps to improve minority health across the agency. This resulted in creation of multimedia health education campaigns on clinical trial diversity, advising on laws regulating FDA's communication to diverse consumers, and training agency staff on cultural competency and bias. My work serves as a model for other public health practitioners to replicate. My research conducted at Morgan State University has been published in peer-reviewed journals and presented at numerous conferences and meetings. I'm a leader, a change agent, and entrepreneur ready to serve the state of Maryland. I am committed to addressing health equity across the lifespan through research, communications, multi-sector partnership, and leadership. My career and experiences have prepared me for this role, and my perspective will be an added value for the Healthcare Commission. My intent is to bring about change to the healthcare system to make it more equitable and just, with a focus on primary care and ensuring patient-centered care, addressing healthcare access in a post-pandemic world, and caring for the aging population. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Dr. Spinner. Do I have any questions from the senators? Thank you. Thank you very much. That finishes our Healthcare Commission nominees. And if you've appeared and would like to leave, you're welcome to, as well as the blind industry. So you don't need to stay all evening if you don't want to. Thank you. I'll give you just a minute. So next, we're going to hear from a new board, new members of the Johns Hopkins University Police Accountability Board. And first, we're going to have Senator Mary Washington, who's going to present 3 nominees. I think it's only 3.
I'm not sure if there are 4, but I don't think one is here.
Okay,
So
well,
3 here.
you can tell me that, but we'll let you
Thank
just stay up and do your 4 or
Thank
your
you.
3.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Washington. So
Um,
you're starting with Ryan Ellis. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Madam Chair, committee, thank you so much for this opportunity. This is indeed a new board. The Johns Hopkins University Accountability Board was created in February 2020 as a recommendation from the interim study on approaches to improving public safety on and around Johns Hopkins campus. As you may know, the Maryland General Assembly codified the creation of a private police force during 2019 and positioned the Accountability Board as an opportunity for Hopkins community members and members of the surrounding neighborhoods to help shape the implementation of the Johns Hopkins Police Department. The Accountability Board has a number of charges in statute. They are to provide community feedback, and they are to direct the Johns Hopkins police leadership in reviewing metrics involving crime, assessing current and prospective departmental policies, procedures, trainings, and everything to ensure that we have civil and fair policing in the area. So this is a very important position, and I am honored to present to you my constituents, of 3 of them, for membership on this board. The first is a student. There will be 4 students. There was some protest and some encouraging that there be more student representation on this accountability board. And so there will be 4 members. Ryan Ellis, who I'll be presenting for you, is a student. He's a major in chemical and biometrical engineering. You'll see from his resume is already, even though he's an undergraduate, is as large as some of the people that are before you. He was a McNair Scholar. He's in the Association of Black Physician Scientists. I'm just honored that he's going to be on this commission. He's also a certified EMT and serves as a volunteer EMT on campus. And so I'm honored to nominate or to endorse the nomination of Ryan Alessi. So will you allow them, do you want them to each come one at a time? Okay, Ryan, oh, there you are.
Good afternoon. It's a little nerve-wracking standing up here, especially hearing so many esteemed and accomplished candidates tell their story before me. Standing up here after them is intimidating. but I do have experiences. As an active Maryland EMT, I've had direct encounters with community members all over in Baltimore. I've seen patients during their worst days and have had firsthand experiences with everything wrong and everything right with the system. In addition to that, I've served as a patient advocate at the East Baltimore Medical Center, hearing many patient stories and helping connect them with public assistance programs and community organizations. I'm an EMT, I'm a social worker, but first and foremost, I'm a student. College, as I'm sure you all know, is one of the most pivotal moments of an individual's life, a time where they discover who they are and a time that shapes them into the people they will become. And for that, our experiences matter. The Johns Hopkins Police Department is something that will impact many in the community. We have representatives from East Baltimore, some from Johns Hopkins Hospital, but today I stand before you representing the student body at Johns Hopkins University, a group of stakeholders that will directly be impacted by the construction of this police department. And for some of us, this impact is something that has the potential to define our college experience at Hopkins. I'm a student. I'm here to represent my fellow students on this accountability board to make sure that our experiences with the police department are ones that we will look back on and be thankful we had. And with that, I'd like to thank Senator Washington for the nomination. I hope to serve my community and my student body, and I'm honored to be considered for this position.
Ryan, thank you. Do I have any questions from any of the senators for Ryan? Oh, Senator Croza.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Les, for your experience as an EMT in Maryland and willing to serve as a student. And my question for you would be, in approaching this, how are you approaching this from the lens of student safety?
So as a student on the Homewood campus, I've had direct experiences with crime in the area. A lot of stories from friends, a lot of friends who've been victims and things I've seen directly. And so primarily my focus is student safety. That is the number one thing I'm concerned about. All of my experiences have been regarding that, and that is what I will bring to the board.
Do I have any other questions? Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to serve, Ryan.
Thank you so much.
Senator Washington, is Samuel Crankshaw here?
Yes, he is. And again, it's very important that this works well and that this accountability represents all perspectives. And so I am honored to represent or to present to you Samuel Crankshaw. He is being nominated to this board. He has extensive skills as a legal aid, and he grew up in a small town in Vermont. And then moved to Baltimore. He said he wanted to enjoy the vibrancy of an urban community. That's why he came. He has served as the material and cultural curatorial assistant at the medical archives. He also speaks Spanish. He has a strong work ethic, as you can see in his resume. And just excited, he's a new, I guess, someone new to Baltimore. So it's important to have that community represented as well. So I bring to you Mr. Samuel Crankshaw.
Thank you, Senator, for the introduction, and good evening, everyone. So I'll just say briefly as to my motivation for serving on this board. As my senator mentioned, the first thing that struck me when I moved from Vermont to Baltimore for school was the vibrancy and the diversity of the community in which I found myself. In fact, about the only thing that was consistent across the board was how welcoming everyone was and how immediately I felt to be a member of my community. And so after about a week last fall, in which there were 3 or 4 violent crimes over the space of 7 days in the areas surrounding campus, one of which took place about 2 blocks from the dormitory that I live in, I felt compelled to do something to give back to my new community. I applied to the accountability board, and it's that motivation that I bring to my service on the board, an outside perspective, as the senator mentioned, but also just the gratefulness that I feel for the community in which I find myself, and it's that motivation that I bring to my service. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your service. Do I have any other questions? Thank you very much. Senator, you said you have one more person.
Yes, I
here.
do. My introduction is not going to be sufficient to really tell you who Sonia Merchant Jones is, but she is known to probably most people in Baltimore City. I've known her for probably nearly 20 years as the very face of community organizing, of community advocacy, of a willingness to serve, a willingness to speak truth to power, a willingness to negotiate and to make things right, to make things good. She gets her hands dirty. She's an excellent cook. She is an amazing community organizer and advocate. Wonderful graphic designer, and just so many, many things. She currently works in the state's attorney's office. And again, I hope you'll see these all of these recommendations are people who fully believe and understand the importance of policing. And it has been for quite a number of years, either the president or the vice president, or the co-president of the Better Waverly Community Organization. Without any further ado, it's truly my honor and I'm humbled to present to you Ms. Sonia Merchant Jones, my friend and my constituent.
Thank you so much, Senator Washington. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. It truly is my privilege to serve Baltimore City for almost 7 decades. And I don't want to give full, but it means so much to me to be of service to people. I look forward to continuing the work that I do. It is so meaningful to me, an example to my 3 children, an example to my grandchildren, because that's what I want to leave behind. An example to the guys on the corner that I go and I talk to and listen to, and the kids in the neighborhood school. I mean, it's all family, and that's what it's about for me. This is my second opportunity to serve, and I can say without a shadow of doubt that Johns Hopkins University in Medicine is doing everything they can to partner with us so that we can build a police force that we can be proud of. And if not, they will answer to the community. I represent Homewood, but I live in Better Waverly. They will answer to us. And so at the end of the day, all we can do or want to do is be 100 with one another. No less. I won't take any less because that's what I always give. I thank you for allowing me to speak with you this afternoon. And if there are no questions, I'll have my seat. And thanks again, Senator Washington, for that wonderful introduction.
I think we have a question.
Okay.
Senator McCray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. More of a comment. I just wanted to say ditto to everything that Senator Washington stated. I look at Ms. Sonia Merchant Jones as a mentor too, and just thank you for your leadership. Thank you again, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for,
Thank
thank
you
you for your work.
Thank you.
And Senator Washington, I just want to double check. You have, I'm probably not going to get this right, Madhu Subramanian, and not here. Okay, so.
You are? Oh.
There we go. It's number 4. Thank you.
You must not
And
have
I'm
the right
sorry
phone
if I-
number. No, it's my fault.
Okay,
We
I'm glad we
weren't able
checked.
to connect. But I do have your resume, so let's hold on. Okay. Aha. So we will meet. I'd like to present to you Madhu Subramani, MD, doctor. He's nominated to be a member of our Police Accountability Board. He is a surgeon in acute care and an associate professor of surgery at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. He's a member of the Eastern Association of the Surgery for Trauma and Surgical Infectious Society. He's been awarded many things. He's had the best presentation at various conferences. He again has been an instructor. He's been a resident, a fellow. He's got numerous publications. Most importantly, he is a member of the East Baltimore Hopkins Medicine's campuses. And I offer him for your consideration and to accept his nomination and appointment to this accountability board.
Now, if you will please say your name, and I apologize because I know I didn't pronounce it properly.
Thank you, Madam Chair and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Madhu Subramanian. I grew up in the city of Chicago. I've lived in Philadelphia, which has one of the highest crime rates. I've taken care of patients there, and I've moved here in the last 3 years. My life has been around helping people within my community that look like me and look like my Black and Latinx friends who I grew up with. That has been my goal as a member of every one of these cities, to try to provide the best care and support I can for these individuals. I not only am a trauma surgeon, but I'm also a survivor of gun violence. I was shot here in this city, and I have recovered from that. And my goal as a member of this committee is to try to improve the lives of those within the city of Baltimore and ensure that everyone gets the respect that they deserve and the proper care that they can from our Hopkins Hospital, as well as the new police force within the Hopkins Hospital system, or the system of Johns Hopkins. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm really sorry to hear about your personal injury, but thank you for your work with trauma patients. Do I have any other questions or comments for our doctor? Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for serving. Senator Benson, I think you have Camaria Hill. Is she here?
Thank you.
Senator Benson, I do want to tell you, your first candidate that you introduced was actually in a car accident on the way.
I'm sorry?
The first candidate that you introduced tonight was in a car accident on the way here, and that's why she did not
Oh
appear.
my
So
goodness, I'm sorry about that.
we're sorry about that too, but I thought I'd let you know.
I'm
She's
deeply
okay.
sorry
She's
about that.
okay. But
She okay?
she's okay.
Thank
Yes.
God.
So, Ms. Hill?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. A consensus builder, a listener, a person who is sensitive to the needs of the police department and the community. Ms. Hill possesses those characteristics. She understands the importance of being a listener. She also understands the importance of being a consensus builder. She has a history as a leader in encouraging diversity, inclusion, with an eye on the level playing field. She's a strong promoter of excellence. Her experience in helping to create consensus and partnerships through marketing strategies makes her more than qualified for this position. And if you look at her resume, it speaks volumes of the kind of person that we need for this most important position. And with that, I am very excited and delighted to have Ms. Hill to come to represent us as a member of the Police Accountability Board.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you all for considering my nomination. Camaria Hill, I am a first-year Master of Science student at the Johns Hopkins University Carey Business School. I am also a full-time employee at LinkedIn, supporting workforce development policy for state government. I am a Maryland homeowner. I purchased a home when I was 24 years old, and I have been serving the state of Maryland and also the surrounding Maryland communities since I moved here in 2014. I'm passionate about serving on this board because I am a true public servant and advocate for police reform and accountability. I'm a single woman, and a lot of graduate students at Johns Hopkins have evening classes, and a lot of people from varying cities and even countries relocate right here to Baltimore or to Maryland to pursue education at Johns Hopkins University. And we are more than deserving of a safe environment. We are more than deserving of people who have our best interests. And we are more than deserving of having a space where we can come and get an education and travel safely without fear of someone trying to inflict any sort of harm on us. So that is my motivation for wanting to be a part of this board. I thank you again and welcome any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Do I have any questions for Ms. Hill? Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Senator McCray?
Thank you again, Madam Chair. I'm going to start with Ed Kangathy, if that's okay. I'd just like to first state that when we talked about this accountability board, or when we were positioning for this accountability board, there was a certain level of intentionality that went into the thoughts from that standpoint. I think that Ed, Mr. Kangathy, is the epitome of what we would call intentional. Ed's not only a friend, but he's also lives in a footprint that's affected by this police force. Ed's not only lives in a footprint, but he lives in that footprint with his wife, Keisha, who I'm super familiar with, but he's also raising his 3 children, the twins and his oldest son within that footprint of where this police force will be established. Ed is a good man, Madam Chair. He's not only super active within his community, he's also super active within the community school that currently exists. But more importantly, he stepped up, and this will be a reappointment to that Police Accountability Board. Madam Chair, I think that the continuity is super important when we're talking about this accountability board, as we're talking about how it's structured, some of the conversations that have taken place before. But most importantly, I think that Ed has the temperament to make sure that there's some form that all voices are heard from that standpoint. The thing that I would like to leave you all with is that when we leave home, a lot of times we don't move far from our neighborhood. So Ed's not just there by himself, but he's second generation. He's generational within that footprint in which he's representing for this Police Accountability Board. So Madam Chair, without further ado, I'd like to bring up Ed Kangathy, my friend, but most importantly, a good man that's ready to represent his community. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, members of the committee. First of all, I would like to thank you, Senator McCray, for your leadership and your friendship. And I remember that I was a part of the organizing effort against the police at Johns Hopkins. And I remember I went to you, Senator McCray, and I expressed my feelings, and your sentiment is, well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to give up because you lost, or are you going to stay engaged? And I want to really thank you for your leadership on that. I am the proud husband of wife Keisha. We've been married 20 years. We raised 3 children, Elijah, Keisha, and Edward Jr. in a Middle East community. We are about maybe a couple blocks west of the Johns Hopkins East Baltimore campus. And as you can imagine, this is very personal for me. As a Black man and raising 2 Black sons in the community, this hits home. When I stood before you, I guess about 3 years ago, I didn't realize how much work would be involved in this endeavor. And if you smile upon my recommendation, I look forward to going back and continuing this work. And I'm open to any questions.
Thank you for staying engaged. It's easy to quit and walk away, and I really appreciate that you're staying engaged. Do I have any questions from any other senators? Oh, Senator Crosa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. I want to thank you for your service, and obviously you can tell with your testimony, it is personal to you. And I just wanted to ask you, with the role that you have on this board and with what's been going on with juvenile crime, not just in Baltimore, but statewide, what do you have any perspectives that you could share with us?
I guess my perspective is, from a father and community activist, is just engagement, opportunities. Children are not in any evil, or they don't want to do bad things, but opportunities. So I feel as though, and hopefully, with this position and with having that working partnership with Johns Hopkins University, an institution that has a lot of resources, that we can start directing those resources in the community to provide opportunities for not just the juveniles, but the members of the community at large. Because I believe that the spike in crime you see is just due to a lack of opportunities for people in the community.
Questions? thank you very much. Look forward to your finishing your service or continuing your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator McCray, do you want to do Kamada Ricks?
Yes, ma'am. I got the distinguished honor to be able to also give good words about Miss Kenyatta Ricks. Miss Ricks works for Hopkins at this time. She's also lives within the footprint. So we talked about that level of intentionality, Madam Chair. And I looked at a number of the spaces that she's done in reference to her community service work. Johns Hopkins Black Faculty, National Council of Negro Women, My Sister's Place, the National Association of Black Female Executives in Music and Entertainment, Meals on Wheels. I think it also represents the epitome of what she stands for. But one of the things that I got a kick out of, you'll know that Baltimore is kind of Smaltimore. So when I walked over to Miss Ricks, she kind of told me we family already. She said, I know your mom, I know your wife. From that standpoint, and East Baltimore and what's going on in East Baltimore, I do feel very optimistic. But it's people like Miss Ricks that has ownership. It's people that have ownership, that have a stake in that claim, and as she's raising her son, she's raising her children within that footprint, thinking about what it looks like for future generations, not just for my kids, not just for her kids, but for kids all across East Baltimore. And I'm thankful for her leadership. Madam Chair, I hope that you all will vote in support of her nomination. And without further ado, here goes Ms. Ricks.
Good evening, everyone. I've been working for Johns Hopkins for over 25 years. And in that time, I've served in volunteer work at My Sister's Place, at House of Ruth, in support of helping others and having a passion for helping others. Currently, I work downtown on the East Baltimore campus. We have a lot of patients who come in from out of the country, out of the state. Many times they're concerned about their safety. Can they walk to their car? Can they walk to get something to eat? Where can they go and have lunch? And I just think that this accountability board and the police, Johns Hopkins Police Department, would help solve some of these issues that people have in coming in and seeking healthcare at Johns Hopkins.
Do you have any questions?
Doesn't have any questions?
For Ms. Ricks? Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
President Ferguson, do you want to do Douglas Trimetier? Did I get that right? Trimetier?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. Pleasure to be here with you. Let me make sure that I say it correctly. Trimetiere? Correct. Close? Okay. Mr. Trimetiere is a new constituent, part of the district. I think was formerly in the 40th district. So I think maybe was your 40th district representative that in the last redistricting moved over, but has a really phenomenal and interesting background and would encourage looking through the international perspective that has been developed over his years of professional experience. He has served for the UN, working in places such as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in Albania, Rwanda, Kosovo, New York City, must have done a little quick stint, stateside stint, Yugoslavia, and has worked on elections overseeing, Human Rights Watch, has focused his entire career on how to create peace. And so if there is ever a perspective that we need across the state of Maryland, but certainly here in the great state of, or in the great city of Baltimore, just how do we create more peace? That should be our fundamental goal. And so without further ado, strongly recommend and welcome Mr. Duke Trimetiere.
So thank you to Senator Ferguson for the introduction. Thank you to the Madam Chairwoman and to the members of the committee. So my name is Douglas. I go by my name or Duke. As was stated, I've worked a long career overseas for the United Nations. Prior to that, in fact, I worked for the Department of Justice in the International Policing Cooperation Unit and worked on policing projects in Haiti and in the Iraq police program, for example, as a program manager. I should just add that I am a community representative nominated to the board to represent the Peabody campus, which is in the very heart of Mount Vernon. It's not a very large campus, about 2.5 blocks. However, I happen to live in an alley house, in a carriage house directly looking onto an alley, which also faces one of the dormitories where many of the Peabody students live. So the members of the Mount Vernon community, while it's a small campus, we recognize the fact that the new Johns Hopkins Police Force will be omnipresent. We will see them constantly because it is such a small campus. We look forward to working with them to continue to build safety and security for a productive and welcoming community. The other thing I might mention is that I serve presently as a board member of the Mount Vernon Belvedere Neighborhood Association, and it's through that connection that I was eventually nominated for this position to serve on the Police Accountability Board. And with that, I'll open to any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for the experience that you'll bring to this board. Do you have any questions? Thank you. Thank you very much for your service. The last person I'm going to introduce is a student. I'm probably going to say this wrong. Some tough names tonight. Ove Kyle. Did I get that? Am I close?
Okay, you're very close.
Thank you. So while I don't represent you, I represent the district right next to you. I'm part of Hanover and Anne Arundel County. I just want to thank you. You're a student, I understand, at Hopkins. You're a student and working on your PhD.
Yes, a dual doctorate, PhD / nurse practitioner.
So thank you very much for your service and your time at Hopkins and for agreeing to serve. So you're working, you're a student, and now you're agreeing to serve on this accountability board. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you. And other known fact, I am also a nurse in the part of the Hopkins system. I'm also a critical care transport nurse for another hospital system. And more importantly than that, I am a husband and a father. And for me, that's why I want to be on this board. I grew up in Mississippi. Growing up, I had a very interesting view of the police. It was kind of a situation where I have seen the N-word thrown around quite a bit by police officers, and proudly. I remember growing up where my mom, every time she was pulled over, she got very nervous. She got extremely scared because she, who spoke very poor English at the time, didn't know how to talk to the police officers, didn't know really how the police were over here. Then I came up to Maryland. I joined the Marine Corps and I ended up here. And I have had so many encounters with the police inside the hospital, from police bringing in patients in handcuffs to police actually being patients, and also studying late nights at the School of Nursing and walking out knowing I'm safe because the police are right there. I want to make a world for my son where he can grow up and not have any fear of the police. As a Marine, we always learn that we need to take responsibility for our actions. Accountability is more than that. Accountability is all leaders, those who carry the burden of leadership, and yes, it is a burden, need to be accountable to the community that they serve. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing that experience. Do I have any questions for this very last candidate? Thank you very much. So this finishes our list for the Police Accountability Board for Hopkins. So anyone that wants to leave, we're finished that group. Thank you. And next we're going to have Senator McKay bringing Mr. Jenkins for the Land Reclamation Committee.
Thanks.
Well, Madam Chair, committee, it's a privilege to introduce to you an Allegheny County native. He is the president of Allegheny Coal and Land, but I firmly believe that his managerial, fiscal responsibility, and organizational skills have deemed him an AAGG. And everyone's saying, what is an AAGG? Well, you will find out after Mr. Stephen Jenkins speaks, but an AAGG is an all-around good guy. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Mr. Steve Jenkins.
Please forgive me, I've not been through this process before. I was happy that there was an EMT behind us. I want to thank Senator McKay for the introduction to the nomination committee. Thank you very much. Thank you to Governor Moore. I'm president, as Senator McKay said, of Allegheny Coal and Land. Our company's been in the mining business in some form or fashion for many, many decades, and we've seen firsthand what good reclamation looks like and what it does not. We always long for things to be put back the way it was. So if there's any questions you may have, happy to answer them.
Do I have any questions for Mr. Jenkins? No questions. Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to serve.
Thank you.
Senator Bailey, would you like to introduce Victoria Brown with Marbitco Board of Directors?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and other distinguished members of the committee. Senator Bailey, St. Mary's, Calvert County, for the record. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing to you very qualified and very distinguished person in our community, Victoria Brown. Mrs. Brown worked for the federal government as she began her career, and then she moved up. She went to work for Lockheed Martin and then Logistics Support Incorporated as a senior vice president. And she had the oversight to all Navy expenditures and their support contracts. She did that for years, but the last 12 years, after she married her husband and she took over a woman-owned business, Shop Cove Aquaculture in St. Mary's County. And she has run that for the last 12 years, dealing with oysters, dealing with spat and things of that nature. But I will tell you, if you look on her resume, she is by far first person that I've seen that comes in that lists on there that she has done the equipment necessary and understands rockfish, mudshed, and wild oyster season. My honor, and I think she's very qualified and ask for your support in her nomination as a member of the board of directors for Marbitco.
Thank you, Senator Bailey. Madam Chair, board, and I want to thank Governor Moore for this opportunity to serve. I started with the federal government and moved on to commercial industry. I have dealt with budget and accounting, finance and reconciliation audits all my life. My husband is president of the Maryland Watermen's Association, Robert T. Brown, and I've learned everything about aquaculture from him, the University of Maryland, in the state of Maryland. I was born and raised in Charles County, Maryland, and I'm a farm girl. Off the farm, we had a 100-acre tobacco farm on Wycomico River, and we had a 60-acre Black Angus cattle farm in Southern Maryland. I hope that I can serve and I've on this board that can help it grow and further. I don't know what else to say. This is new for me.
Mrs. Brown, are you already serving? Have you already started to serve, or is your?
No, I have not, but I have actually used Marbitco loans to start my aquaculture company, 3, and they're all paid off.
That's great experience.
I was one of the first people that went to Marbitco to start. We are a nursery that we've actually produced over 1 billion spat on shell that has gone overboard on public bottom and restoration bottom in the state of Maryland. And that's in the Potomac River as well as in the Maryland waters.
Sounds like you're going to bring great experience to Marbitco. Senator Hershey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could just second the nomination for Victoria Brown. I can assure you there is no distance too far in the state of Maryland that they have not traveled to help all of us. And both her and her husband have been great resources of information as we try to learn a lot more about what's happening in the Bay and especially in aquaculture. So.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? Thank you for serving, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Next, we have Senator Bailey again for the Maryland Legal Services, Michael Bellis.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, and distinguished members of the committee. Senator Bailey, again, St. Mary's, Calvert County, for the record. This evening, I have the opportunity to introduce to you Michael Bellis from District 29. When I look over, and as you do, you look over his resume and see where it started in his community and workplace involvement. He was a recruiter and outreach coordinator for Melwood. Then he worked for the Hospice of Charles County as the development coordinator. Then as he moved up, he did options for Senior America in La Plata. Then the United Way of Southern Maryland as the executive director. Then the College of Southern Maryland as assistant director for alumni and annual giving. And now currently he still works with the Charles Regional Medical Center Foundation as the executive director. He's very qualified, and I ask for your support in this nomination as a member of the Maryland Legal Services Corporation Board of Directors.
Thank you, Senator Bailey, for that introduction. Big thank you to Governor Westmore for the nomination. Everyone can take a deep breath. I'm not a lawyer, so everyone can relax. And let me just begin by saying that I feel like such a thorn amongst roses tonight. Incredible people that have raised their hand to serve our state, and I am honored to be mentioned in the footnotes of today's proceedings. I am not a lawyer, so why am I eager to serve on the Maryland Legal Services Corporation? As you can see, my background is in nonprofit management and opening doors of opportunity for typically disenfranchised individuals across our community. Southern Maryland often is lumped into a disenfranchised community as a whole, not always receiving the limelight here in the state of Maryland. But what we've seen is when several years ago, we created what's called Community Resource Day. And it used to just be a day for folks to come, sign up for Medicare, sign up for food stamps, get a hot meal and go home. Over the years, we expanded that and we brought in a number of legal services for folks, including Maryland Volunteer Legal Services, Maryland Legal Aid. We offered on-site expungement, we offered free legal counseling, and it opened my eyes to the barriers that are created through the legal system, whether that be through historic issues with systemic racism, whether that be through a criminal justice system that hasn't caught up to the 21st century, or whether that be housing policy that has unfairly held certain individuals back from our community. The criminal justice system and the legal system often seems to be that last barrier, that last hill that hides people from opportunity. The Maryland Legal Services Corporation is a remarkable organization that provides funding to those aforementioned agencies and continues to open the door for opportunity across our state. As someone who has spent his entire career in the nonprofit world in Maryland, I am hopefully very capable of taking on that challenge and providing that oversight. And I am eager to serve, and I'm happy to entertain any questions y'all may have.
Thank you, Mr. Bellis. Do I have any questions from any senators? Thank you for agreeing to serve. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's good to see you again.
A pleasure to
I saw
see you
your
too.
name and I want to support your nomination. I saw your name on the list and remember your great work in Southern Maryland, access to health care and so many important services for the nonprofit. So thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you, Sir. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our last nominee for tonight, Senator James, would you like to bring up Terry Jackson?
Good evening, members of the committee. The prior speaker did such a wonderful job talking about the Maryland Legal Services Corporation, and I'm delighted that I get to nominate or offer an introduction for another person nominated to the board, Mr. Terry Jackson. Mr. Jackson has over 15 years of very high level accounting and financial services background. 7 of the last year really working for various federal agencies, Department of Justice, the Peace Corps, and currently NASA. And really when he was a resident of Baltimore City, and he had the opportunity to be a volunteer civilian board member for the Baltimore City Police, the accountability boards. And that really got him interested in thinking about giving back and giving back to people that are marginalized or underserved. And that when he saw an opportunity to apply for the legal aid, the Maryland Legal Services Corporation, he jumped right in. And I also want to just note that he's also been sort of the CFO for the town of Bladensburg, as well as working for CBS Radio and providing expertise there, in which he saved about $1.5 million. And my thought was that it's really an asset to have somebody with his kind of background on this kind of board. We're all, every entity is struggling for money. We're always trying to figure out how to stretch our dollars. So I'm really delighted to introduce him, and I hope you'll welcome him, and I hope he gets your support. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Senator James, for that wonderful introduction. Madam Chairman, members of this committee, thank you for your consideration. And I also like to thank the Moore-Miller administration for this nomination. One of the reasons why I wanted to take on this board of director role is because I believe in service. Service is important to me. It's always been a part of my life. Growing up as a teen in Baltimore, I've served in church communities across the area. And so moving forward with this nomination, I'd like to serve as the board of director for the Maryland Legal Service Corporation. One of the other things I will mention is that in doing this particular work, I believe that providing this particular service to low-income Marylanders is important because we definitely don't want to leave anyone behind in this society. And so I thank you again for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do I have any questions for Mr. Jackson? Thank you very much. Thank you for serving.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, cool, I got it. All right. Members of the committee, I'm gonna separate a group of these out just to accommodate some of our members. And so first, I want to start by nominating that we move favorable on numbers 1 through 8.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor of numbers 1 through 8? Thank you.
Excellent. All right, next, we are going to nominate, let's just do move favorable, numbers 9 through 17. What's that?
Senator Lamb, which we
Senator Hayes, I think you're
That's
working
right.
on
Yeah,
the
that's separate
agenda.
group.
Oh, over.
I wondered, we missed number
Yeah, I
9.
think you're working on.
Okay, Senator Lamb, you probably want to vote on number 9.
Yeah,
Am I correct? Okay, so make the motion just for number 9. You missed
Okay,
your different agenda, I think. Here we go.
got it. Okay, all right. So I move favorable for numbers 1 through
1 through 9.
1 through 9. I'm sorry.
Second.
Second. All in favor of numbers 1 through 9? Aye, thank you.
Got it.
Okay.
Now I move favorable for numbers 10 through 18.
Senator Lamb, are you recusing yourself on?
Yeah, I'm recusing myself.
So Senator Lamb is recused for for
From
numbers
10
10 through 18.
Correct.
All in favor? We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposition. Thank you.
And lastly, I move favorable on numbers 19 through 23 and the remaining statewide nominees.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. No opposition. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.